8 through the rest of that assignment. Anything you're struggling with, not sure about, that I could answer. So, when I look at the questions, I probably should have seen, as I looked at yours, your unit rates. So when I look at number 11, what did you have for the unit rate of how fast the car was going? Number 11. For the equation, how fast was car A going? What's my unit rate? 1 point what? 1.16?
It was repeated. It was 1.6 repeated.
1.6 repeated. Okay. What was the rate for the car B? 1 point what? 1.2. So when we are looking at comparing in this one, so our unit rate in each one, our unit rate here was 1.2. So that, thank you. So that when we are taking a look and we're trying to see in this case which car travels faster. Are you sure this is it?
No.
Positive. Right.
Look at mine. That's wrong. It's wrong. I have it right.
Because car B was going faster. 6. This one was in number 11. Oh, we had to go through this one, right? And it should have been 7. Was it 7 divided by 6?
I didn't do that like that. I did it. Yeah.
No. When you look at this one, so your mistake is this. This one came out to be 7 divided by 6. Did everyone do that on their calculator? You didn't? Okay. So that is our 1.6. 1/6 isn't 0.6. That's why this doesn't seem right to me. Ah, yes. 1.16. That's what I thought. This is 1.16. What? How fast? 7 divided by 6, right? 7 divided by 6 is equal to 1.16. When you look at this car, a car B, if we are looking at that, but that's all right. When I look at part B, the car, how fast was car B going? How fast was that car B going? If we looked at that, we want to take the point should have been 6 and dividing it by 5. And 6 divided by 5 gives us 1.2. And 1.2 is faster than 1.16. So car B is faster. And you should have used this point right here. You shouldn't have gone up to 6 because that was car A. And car A, this one is above that. Car B is above that. So that could have been one way. But usually if you compare their unit rates, so when I look at number 12, the unit rate is, we are looking at 40 miles per minute, right? When we were looking at it from that equation. And if I go over here, I look at this graph and I see that car B was going 60 miles per 1 minute, which means car B is definitely faster, and I'm comparing their unit rates. So when we do a homework quiz and you're checking those, I just want to make sure you're aware that you really want to look at the unit rates of the two things to compare them is the best way, okay? Yesterday we were working on this, so what I would have you do a graph equation. Today we're going to look at more of that. Anyone else here? Okay. Today we're going to look at more of that when you are looking at your equations. So as you do that, as we are taking a look, please turn to problem 4 in your notes. As you are looking at problem 4, making graphs and tables, and then today we're going to do kind of this little exit flip. I don't know if we're going to get the video watch, but there is a video that I attached to the daily planner. First off, using unit rate for 0 to 5 hours, we're going to keep looking at our same person. We are gonna have our independent variable be the time that she worked in hours, so please, and if I need to move you, I need you to turn, so facing forward, awesome. Okay, if I need to have you in the back and people in front of you so that you can stay facing forward, that works for me too. All right, so we are looking at our independent variable is the time worked, and we're talking about our hours. We are talking about our dependent variable being the amount of money that we're paid. So this is really our X. It is our time in hours. So the time in hours that she worked. This is our Y. It is our money that she was paid. Notice Y is here. I need a title on my graph. So some of you like to kind of look at these and you don't always put a title. We need a title. Our title for this would be possibly something like money earned or pay, who was our person from the other page? Lacey's pay for work, something along that way, okay? We are going to have, this was the money that she earned, so this is her dollars. And we also need on our x-axis down here, which we said is time in money, or is our time in hours. So we're going to write time in hours. So these are a lot of times where people will lose points because they don't like to put those in. If she worked 0 hours, 0 money made, right? Here's our point on the graph, 0, 0. She worked 1 hour. How much was she getting paid an hour? If you look up on the page before, yesterday we got how much? 15? So at 1, she's at 15. Now, is it pretty easy to fill in the rest of this table? Because each one, we found yesterday that Lacey was making $15 an hour, right? So now at 2 hours, she gets 30. At 3, she'd get 45, right? And then we have 60. And if she works 5 hours, she made how many dollars? 75. Please plot each of these as an ordered pair. So this is really the ordered pair, 1, 15. This is 2, 30, right? So 2 at 30. We're at 3, we are at 45. 4, we're at 60. 5, we're at 75. This is a proportional relationship. Now, I have straight edges, but a lot of times you can take the edge of your notebook or your workbook and just set it and use that for the straight edge and take it and connect. Because yesterday we found she made $15 an hour. So yesterday, we're talking about the same person. We just, yesterday, remember, we quit taking notes because we ran out of time with doing our test assessment and stuff. So this is the same person from yesterday, okay? Okay. All right. So now we want to take a look as you go down to that next screen, okay? If you want to keep that arrow, because if she keep working, could I figure out how much money she makes after working an hour and a half? Yeah. Could I find out for if she works 3.3 hours, right? 3.3 would be something like here, I could use that information. So I can use my information, but one of the things we want to do is we want to be writing equations. So it says, how could we use her unit rate to find how many hours she works for, or how many dollars she makes for 3 hours, 6.5, or 2.75? What would I want to do with my unit rate to figure that out? What could you have done in this table? If I work 4 hours, how do I figure out how much I got 60 besides adding 15 each time? How else could I have done it?
Could you multiply it?
I could multiply. And what would I multiply, Kennedy?
4 times 15.
Right. So what we are going to put down here is we're going to put, we want to multiply the unit rate, right? Her unit rate was 15. We want to multiply our unit rate by time. Which means if I was looking at like this 3 and 6.5 hours, I would take, let's do that. Take your calculator out. 15 was my unit rate, $15 per hour. times 3 hours. 15 times 3, we already had that in our table, right? It was $45 that we are making for 3 hours of work. How do we figure out for 6.5? 6.5 would not be bad, right? 6.5 hours of work at $15 an hour. Take 15 on your calculator times the 6.5 hours. Jordan, you got? Not bad, right? $97.50 for working 6.5 hours. Okay? Now, what's nice about that is that can help us to write an equation. So, when we write an equation, this is what we want to be thinking about. To write an equation, we want to think about what we just answered. We want to put it in words. So when we take a look at this, this is what we want to look at. When we put this in words, we want to be thinking that we're taking the amount that we earn is equal to our pay rate. What other word could we use for our pay rate? That is our unit rate, right? These two words would be the same, the pay rate and our unit rate, times the number of hours. Now, sometimes we'll put plus the start amount. Plus the start amount. What did she start at working 0 hours? $0. So sometimes this is 0, but other times when we get into this unit, you're going to notice that that happens to be a different number. Like they're going to say, you have to pay so much up front, kind of like when we did those plumber problems and we said you had to pay so much for them to just come to your house. So it says, well, what is our equation then for Lacey's pay? We're going to put the amount earned, maybe we use the letter A. Why A? Because it stands for amount. But remember, this amount earned really is our dependent variable. So right below that, if you can write dependent. And the number of hours was our independent, right? So when I think of writing my equation, sometimes I can write it with an A, but other times I might want to use Y. The reason I'm using Y is always our dependent variable. Equals, our pay rate was 15, right? I'm going to put a little dot here because that X kind of gets confusing. Times, and instead of time, we might use H for hours. So the amount of money we earn is equal to 15 times H plus 0, or 15X. And this equation, usually we simplify it to be A equals just 15H. Knowing that the 15 times H, when we don't put a dot in there, that means 15 times H. So it says if we're going to generalize this for any proportional relationship, remember, proportional relationship starts at 0, 0, has a constant rate of change. Dependent variable, which is kind of what we had here, times the unit rate, or equals the unit rate times, this is our multiplication, the independent. Y equals the unit rate times X. That's what our proportional relationships are going to look like. Give me a thumbs up once you have that written down. Dependent. So today we're going to do a couple other little things in class that we're going to look at in just a minute. Good. Most of you got a thumbs up from me. Let's see that. All right. All right. So now we're looking at another person working, right? This time it tells us Joseph is another temporary employee, and he's making $153 for working 38 hours. What is his unit rate? Please write down how you're going to find it first. Same in your homework if you're finding it. Don't just put the answer. I know you can put it in your calculator, and I also know I got the answers in the back, right? So $513 divided by 38, in this case, hours. So yes, please take out your calculator and let's figure out how much he's making. Is he doing as well? Not as well. Elizabeth, what you get when you divide it? Try it again. Clear calculator, put in 513 divided by 38. $13.50. 13.5, that's our unit rate, $13.50 per 1 hour, right? Now, this line, remember, can be per, or you can write out the per, or you can put per hour, okay? So, we now want to look at making that same table like we did for Lacey, right? $13.50.
In 0 hours.
Ooh, no, right, not 0, it should be what?
Yeah.
Should be 0. At 1 hour, $13.50. Good catch. Next one should be what? 27. Now, there's 2 ways of doing it, right? I can add $13.50 each time, or I can take 3 times $13.50, 4 times $13.50, 5 times $13.50. Both ways work, right? So if I'm looking at my numbers, Robin, what'd you have continuing? Give me the next 2. You're always ahead of this. I know. 40.5. Natalie, you got the next one?
54.
$54. And our last one we're looking at, Noah? $67.50. I would like you to please graph. Now, I think $13.50 is kind of tough. But remember, Lucy was at 15, or Lacey was at 15, so it should definitely be below that. So let's put a point kind of below that. At 2 hours, it's 27. I can definitely see that's going to be below because that was 30. Okay. At 3, it's at 40.50. Well, that's 40. I'm going to put it almost right on that. At 4 hours, it's 54. And at 5 hours, we are at 67.50. And so when you do your homework, similarly, if you are drawing these lines, remember we start at 0, 0, and then in this case, we would draw our line. And this would be Joseph's. So I might put his name by that line. And it says, well, how do the rates of pay, how do we see it when we look at a graph? And what you're looking at is as our x increases by 1, this is kind of important that we look at, as the x increases by 1, we are looking at their steepness. And in this case, Joseph's line is less steep or flatter. It's not as steep as Lacey's. And his rate of pay was less than Lacey's. So I have some people, when they're making their graphs, have a go up by 7s, like when they tell you the rate of change is 7. Other people go up by 1s. Whenever the unit rate is bigger, your line will be steeper. So if you have a 7 compared to a 5, the 7 is going to be steeper than a rate of change of 5, right? 2 is going to be steeper than 1/2 when we look at that, okay? So as you are looking at that, okay? Right now, we are going to fill in this last part. Don't do that. This last part of our note. So some of you didn't get that down. Right here, make sure you put that in that box, right? It says, how does it affect it? Please make sure you have this filled in. It affects the steepness. Some of you didn't write that in that box. It affects the steepness of the line. Joseph's line is not as steep. His rate was lower than Lacey's. That's in that box. Give me a thumbs up when you got it so I know I can go on. All right, next one. We're talking about Otto's car has a full tank of gas. He drove 320 miles before stopping to fill it up. When he stopped, he put in $14.7. The first thing it says is miles per gallon. There's one question in your homework where it says to do gallons per mile or something like that. You gotta make sure you put the right unit, right? So we were doing 4. In this case, when they're telling you this, the per, that means this fraction bar. Anytime you see that, that means fraction bar. So we're gonna put miles in the numerator. What do we put in the denominator? The word gallons. By the way, when you did question number 4, you should have got that to come out to be, I think it was 0.1 when you did it. 1/10 or 0.1. In this case, we're gonna put 320. We're gonna find the unit rate. We're gonna divide it by 14.7. Again, I'm giving you the answers usually in the back, so I want you to at least write down how you got it. So in this case, 320 divided by 14.7, some of you already have it in and ready for me. What do you got, Haley? 21.7 what? Was it did it end at 0.7 or what's on your calculator? 0.76. So if we were going to round it to the nearest 10, we would probably go 21.8. And in this case, I'm going to write it out this way, miles per gallon. Miles per gallon. If you like writing out the whole words, you could. It says, okay, how can we use an equation to write that? Remember, we are always using our dependent variable, which in our case would be our miles. This is our dependent, okay? And our gallons is our independent. So we want to put dependent, which is our miles. Sometimes people like to use Y, like we said before, equals our unit rate. What is our unit rate? The 21.8 times, in this case, the gallons, G, or 21.8x. I would take either one of these two equations. I don't care if you like to write it with a Y, or if you use the variables that are in the problem, like the M for miles and G for gallons. To me, sometimes using the letters that are in the problem makes sense, but sometimes those letters don't work as great. I mean, like T is not a good variable because it looks like a plus sign, right? So it says now use this and find out how far can you drive on 5 gallons gas. So a lot of cars will calculate that for you now, but we're going to do it this way. So these miles is equal to, I'm going to take 21.8 times 5. Make sure you label your answer. How should I label it? What do you think, Adam? What kind of a label? How far can he drive? Miles, gallons, miles per gallon. I had some people tell me miles per gallon today. What do you think now? Miles. So please make sure, what did you get for an answer, Brooke? 107.5 miles. I got it. It's 109 too. Want to check it? 109 miles. I had some people put miles per gallon this morning. Not miles per gallon, right?
It could be.
It could be. No. How far do you drive? You don't drive miles per gallon. You drive miles.
It's how far can you drive on 5 miles of gas?
On 5 gallons.
That's what I said.
You said 5 miles. What?
Miles per gallon. That's how far you can drive.
All right. So, you are completing D4 for your homework. Okay? Number 1, or E4, excuse me. You did 1, 4, 5. Okay? But right now we are going to do this sheet together. Okay? So, I don't think we're going to do the video with this because of our time, and I would just like to make sure we kind of go through this. But turn it to the side that's really dark. It's unfortunate, but when I made the copies, this side just did not copy well. Make sure you have your name on the other side that's nice and white, and you can read really easily that says my travel from home, but I want you to turn to this side, and it says the cost of cell service in minutes, and then this is the cost of dollars, okay? And I know this is hard to read. I know that. Where is the first point that we can easily see? I think it's at 20, right? Can you see at 20? What would you say at 20? They're telling us how much it costs for 20 minutes to talk. 60 cents. So right across from this 20, please put 0.60, right? 60 cents. I know it's hard to read. So follow with me and put it in on the table at the same time. Now, what you're going to do up here, and this is going to be the same on the other side, okay? When you go to do the other side, this side over here, you're going to do it in the same way, okay? We want to put 60 cents, so put 0.6 with your dollar sign, divided by 20 minutes. I know it's hard to read. Okay, I get it. What is 0.6 divided by 20? How much is it on my unit rate? 0.03, right? Does that make sense to everyone? 60 cents divided by 20, this is going to be a unit rate 0.03 per 1 minute. How did we get that? We took 60 cents and divided it by 20, right? That's how we get 3 cents a minute. So could I now fill in the cost of 1? Yeah. Put it in. 0.03. How about 2 minutes then? How much? 1 minute is 3 cents. 2 minutes is going to be 6 cents. 0.6. It skips. It doesn't go to 3. It goes to 4. What is it for 4? We're going to take the 4 times what? Times what? What's our unit rate? 4 times 0.03, which is 0.12. How do we get the next one? 12 times? Oh, good. 12 times 0.03, which gives us 0.36. Please do the last one for 28. Okay? And for 28, I should have 0.84. Okay? Now, I know this is super hard to read, but this is what I kind of want you to look at. This is y equals. It's going to say question mark on the other side down here. Notice it when I flip this over on the back. Y equals, it has question mark times x. I know I'm not happy with how it printed out either. Okay, so look at this side. We want to fill this in. And someone said, well, what do you mean fill it in? This is my x. This is my y. So I go to this column of x. Kind of helps, doesn't it? That's going to be the number that I'm going to put the very last number here. That's my x. I also am going to put my y value. This is my y. Those numbers here. And I'm going to put those below here. Okay? So when I fill mine in, my first y was 3 cents, 0.03, equals, back here the x was what? 1. The question mark I'm going to leave for a little bit, okay? The next one, I had 0.06. What was the x value with that? 2. The next one I had was 0.12. What was my x value? 4. I think you have room to put at least 4 of them. So we'll put 0.36. 0.36 went with 12, right? What did I have to take 1 times and 2 times and 4 times and 12 times to get these numbers?
0.03.
0.03. So what we want to do is we want to put this last one, this question mark, okay? That's going to be the same number all the way down. That's going to be our 0.03, okay? because 0.03 is what was our unit rate, right? So we take that times 1, times 2, times 4, 0.03. Now, you are going to be working in groups of 2 or 3, and you need to complete, make sure you put your name and period 7 on here. You're going to turn this in just like we turn in a quiz. You are looking at, on the back, this table. And actually, does Katie want to come up here? You want to work with Adam to do this one? When you guys are doing this? Okay, so you're going to stay here. All right, so this 1 point, right? Where is the point located to start my rate? It is how many miles? What would be my miles? 200. Does everyone see where we got 200? Okay, we're going across from here. What is my hours? 5. You are now, it says you have to divide by the same thing, right? So you and your shoulder partner are doing this together, okay? You're going to finish this and tell me our unit rate. You're going to fill this in from 0 through 1 using your unit rate, right, for our 1. And then you're filling in this column. When you fill in the column for Y, that should be the same thing as I have here, right? Whatever numbers I have here. When you fill in the column for X, going down here, that should be the same as my X. And if you need to look back up above at what we just did, please use this to help you, and you do have to write an equation. So you guys are going to be a group of 3, 2, and everyone else is double up. Okay, so turn this in before you leave, and then you are working on the 4. Okay. You and your shoulder partner together.
That's not right.
You need to talk with your shoulder partner. You need to work together and figure it out. Make sure you're both filling in, right? Good. So you got to fill in down here too, Kate. Well, what did you divide these by? What did you divide both things by? No. 5. You divided them both by 5. When you're getting this answer, right? When you're getting this, what are you dividing them both? You're dividing both the numerator and denominator by the same thing, right? You need to fill this in to give me this answer, okay? So